What story will you tell at the pearly gates to show that you're a good person? I was walking through downtown Boston when I saw an old woman through the window of a coffee shop, and something about her caught my eye. She was just sitting there alone with a half-empty mug, kind of staring out the window like she was waiting for someone who wasn't coming. I don't know why I stopped, but either way, I went inside, grabbed a coffee, and ended up sitting a couple tables away. At first, I was just scrolling through my phone, trying to not make it obvious I was looking at her. Eventually, she caught me and smiled. Not a weird smile, just soft, like she didn't mind being noticed. I smiled back, and for whatever reason I just asked if I could sit with her. She kind of raised an eyebrow, but then shrugged and said, "Sure, if you don't mind an old lady's rambling." We started talking, and it turns out she used to be a librarian, and her husband was in World War II. She told me his name was Jack, and said he was quiet, but always had strong opinions about toast. It made me laugh. I told her I was a history major working on a project about World War II stories, and she paused, looked me dead in the eye and said, "Well, I've got a story, if you've got the time." Next day, I showed up at her place. She had this little old house that smelled like lavender and dust. She made me tea and pulled this giant trunk out from under the stairs. Inside were letters, medals, and old black and white photos of her and Jack when they were young. He had this huge grin in every picture, like the world couldn't touch him. She handed me one of the letters and said he wrote it the night before D-Day. Her hands were shaking a little as she read it out loud. Halfway through, her voice cracked, and she just kind of stopped and laughed, like she was embarrassed. She told me not to write that part down. I didn't. I kept going back, every week, sometimes twice. We'd go through more letters, and she'd tell me stories that weren't in any textbook, like how they used to slow dance in the kitchen during blackouts, or how he'd draw little cartoons on the envelopes. She always made grilled cheese the same way he liked it, with too much butter and the crusts cut off. She'd say she wasn't hungry, but she always made two. One day I brought my laptop and showed her my project. Her name was right there in the title. She stared at it for a long time, didn't say anything at first. Then she touched my hand and said, "Jack would have liked you. I'm not gonna lie." That hit me harder than I expected. We just got close. I stopped seeing her as some subject for a paper and started thinking of her like family. I helped her fix a few things around the house, brought her soup when she wasn't feeling great, and even taught her how to email so she could talk to her daughter in Oregon. She'd lost touch with her years ago, and now they write almost every week. When I finished the project, I printed a copy just for her, bound it and everything. She cried when I gave it to her. She told me it was the first time she felt like someone really listened in decades.